Hi, today we're gonna have fun because I'm gonna show you 5 components that I bought and paid for with my own money that I don't think you or anyone else can argue with. I mean, you could try.
There's a comment section below, but
you know, it might be pointless because these are pretty cool. Hi, put down that remote and grab your flamin' hot Cheetos because you are in the right place. You have found your people, the United States of Analog. Welcome. Thanks for being here, and do me a favor as we progress through this video, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. You would be doing me a huge favor as we try to grow this channel. So today we're going to talk about 5 components that I don't think anyone can argue about. I think they're great. And I think pound for pound, these are, and in some cases were, the best value for the money. And you know I'm kind of a tightwad when it comes to audio. Oddly enough, I have other expenses that have to be dealt with, not the least of which is college tuition. So I'm always looking for value in hi-fi. So I'm going to show you 5 components that, again, I don't think you can argue with, but the comments are below. Have at it if you'd like. And while you're there, tell me what your favorite component is. Now for each, I'm going to give you 5 reasons that I dig that component. And it's not going to be comprehensive, but it's going to be a good jumping off point if you're interested in this component and it's still available in the marketplace. You might want to do further research. I'll also put one maybe shortcoming for each component. Now to work through this, we're going to have to use this, the United States of Analog Golden Workbook. I've got all the information in here. So pardon me if we lose eye contact occasionally, but you know, I can't do this from memory like some of my YouTube counterparts. All right, let's start out with one of my favorite things. It's right down here. The Technics, and I'm going to call it Technics all during this video, SL1200 M7L 50th Anniversary Turntable. I love this thing. Mine is in black with the gold tone arm. It's so cool. Came in all kinds of colors. I don't think it's generally available. Most likely on eBay you'll be looking at prices above $2,000. It just gets the job done. It walks like a turntable. It talks like a turntable. It acts like a turntable. I can't say enough good things about it, and I literally use it every day. Down here, you can always count on it. Number 1, beautiful looks. Yeah, it's like I said, it looks like a turntable. You're familiar with this form factor. Number 2, it's reliable, that direct drive, that instant torque. Plus you've got the Technics heritage that you know, you've seen so many vintage Technics turntables that you know this one more than likely is going to last like it's older brothers and sisters. It has a removable head shell, and that's not a common thing these days, but it's a great way to swap out cartridges and get different sounds. I personally have a Audiophile Blue on one of the head shells and a Nagaoka MP110 on another, and some kind of Sumiko on a third head shell. Yeah, I went a little crazy. A few videos ago, someone in the comments saw the turntable in the background and said,
hey man, you can't put an Audiophile Blue on a 1200.
Well, I called Technics, I checked the instruction manual, and it certainly, from what it seems, falls within the parameters. So I'm not too worried about it. It sounds great. If you know something I don't know about putting a blue on this particular turntable, then let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I think it sounds wonderful. Number 4, the strobe light, the platter, the strobe platter, and the strobe light. You know, it's just something to look at, something to engage you, and something to visually confirm that, yeah, everything is running right with your turntable. I like it. It's fun. It gives you something to play with and something to look at. And number 5, mine is, like I said, a limited edition. I feel like mine is special, and I'm just glad that I pulled the trigger when I did. There are better Technics turntables out there, I'm fully aware, but this one suits my daily needs just fine. Now we're gonna go to the land of AVRs with the Onkyo RZ50 AVR receiver. Now, full disclosure, when it comes to sound, I'm more concerned with 2-channel sound in music than I am with movies. For movies, I just want good, clear surround sound with a little bit of boom when I'm watching action movies. You know, it doesn't take much for me to like an AV receiver. Now, for 10 years or so, maybe 12, I had a big Marantz AV receiver. But as the years went on and technology changed, I realized that it was time to step up the game. And about 2 years ago, I paid about $1,200 for the RZ50. I thought that was an outstanding deal for what you can get. Crutchfield right now has the RZ50 for $1,000. Let's talk about the 5 things I like about it. Number 1, that price, $1,000 for a full-size AB powered receiver. That's phenomenal. Number 2, 9.2 or even more channels depending on how you configure it. 9.2 channels of sound. It really is flexible with plenty of speaker outputs and assignable speaker outputs and inputs, and it's just got everything that I need. And I'm going to assume for most of you it's got everything that you need in a receiver. Number 3, up to 120 watts per channel AB power. The more channels you use, the more that number comes down. But for straight stereo, 120 AB into 8 ohms. Very powerful receiver. Number 4, Dolby Atmos. This is my first Atmos experience, and while I use it mostly for movies, I love the fact that I can use some of those Atmos files in Apple Music and play things like Pink Floyd and Elton John and, you know, all the great classic rock stuff that I enjoy. I do that occasionally for fun. I'm more of a 2-channel guy when it comes to music, but having Atmos for movies like, you know, Top Gun Maverick and, you know, Mission Impossible and all. Hey, I just named 2 Tom Cruise movies, didn't I? I'm not a Tom Cruise fanboy, but those are 2 pretty good examples of outstanding Atmos sound in motion pictures. So you're going to want Dolby Atmos going forward. And number 5, Dirac room correction, Dirac Live. Very easy to use. It might take you a little while to, you know, get it set up initially, but once you do it a few times, you get into the Dirac groove, and it is it's very cool. At the $1,000 price point, not to get Odyssey, but to get Dirac, it works great. I can't say enough about it. I can't believe they put it into this big component for this price, but they do somehow. The only downside I have with this unit is that sometimes the controls can be a little finicky, a little clunky. I can't really go into a lot of detail about that. It's not a deal breaker by any sense, but sometimes, you know, I have a hard time.
Well, here's the deal.
Sometimes with AV receivers, I get a little frustrated with the amount of information being presented to me and the amount of calibrations that you have to do and all the different Dolby settings and surround settings and Atmos. And when you get an AV receiver, I highly recommend that you block out a good chunk of time to learn most of what it can do, at least the stuff that you want it to do. There really is a learning curve with AVRs, and it can get very, very complicated fast. And I know you know that this was going to be on my list. The Technics SUG700. I've got the Generation 1 version, digital amplifier. Number 1, this one visually is a stunner. I can still remember the night during the pandemic when I was lying in bed flipping through the Music Direct catalog, and I turned the page and saw this. I knew I had to have it. And I bought it sound unseen. And that doesn't even make any sense, but I bought it sound unseen. I really did. I didn't care how it was gonna sound. I had a feeling it might be okay, but my expectations were exceeded in both the looks department and the sound department when I received it. Now, I spent about $2,200 for mine. A new Gen 2 version is going to cost you just under $3,000, but it is worth every penny. Those crisp lines, those VU meters, the lights, everything about it, the metal, it's heavy, it just feels good, it looks good. Anytime anyone asks me about integrated amps, I start with the SUG700, full stop, no cap, and all that stuff the kids say. I mean, number 2, power beyond its rated 70 watts per channel into 8. This is a digital amp. Now that's Technics words. They don't use the term Class D. They say it's digital. It's very unique in that it takes all the sound you input, even analog from a turntable, and converts it into the digital realm, messes around with it, plays around with it, and spits it out of your speaker terminals in analog. To be honest with you, I can't tell you what's going on inside, but I can tell you it's very, very special, and I highly recommend it. Number 3, it has an outstanding headphone stage. I mean, really good for a built-in headphone stage into an integrated amplifier. Better than it has to be. Normally headphones for me are just kind of an add-on. I'm going to get a separate headphone amp if I'm really doing some heavy-duty critical headphone listening. But the amp inside of here is brilliant. And even more brilliant, number 4, is the phono stage, one of the best that I have heard. And I'm talking in or out of the box, one of the best phono stages that I personally own. I don't know if I could put a dollar value on it. For me, it sounds like it could be $1,000, a $1,200, $1,500 phono stage. It's that good. Number 5, it has this circuitry called LAPC, which kind of adapts the amplifier to your speakers. So every time you swap out speakers, you run this short little program. It's not really room correction, but it goes a long way to maximizing the sound from your speakers. Now, the thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way with this amplifier is I don't get to listen to it enough. Now, I know this is going to be kind of a humble brag, but doing this channel now, I get to listen to a lot of gear. So a lot of times the SUG 700 it's like that sad part of Toy Story where the doll gets taken to the donation center. Most of the time the Technics is on a shelf in a closet while I'm listening to other things, but I can't wait for opportunities to pull it back out, plug it back in, and just enjoy it, not just sonically, but visually. I think you see this one coming too, the KLIPSCH Heritage Forte 4 speakers. I bought these things about 4 years ago from a local dealer, and I have never wanted for more in a speaker. Now, like with the Technics amplifier, I was saying, I get a chance to listen to all kinds of speakers here in the house now. The Fortes stay in place because of their size, and I put the speakers I'm auditioning for review, in between the two Fortes. But man, I'm telling you, I can't say enough good things. This is the sweet spot, I think, in the Heritage line. It's smack dab in the middle. Would I have liked Cornwalls? Would I have liked them better? I'm not even sure. I read somewhere once that the Forte sound signature was a little like the La Scalas or a lot like the La Scalas up the line. And for me, that's all it took, because I knew I would never be able to afford La Scalas, but I could afford, or almost afford, the KLIPSCH Forte 4s. They come in at like, $5,000 a pair now. And let me tell you how amazing they are. I get to go to a lot of shows, I get to go to a lot of showrooms, and I listen to speakers. And a lot of times I'm listening to music that, I haven't really heard before on speakers. Whenever that happens, I can't wait to get home and stream that unknown track that I'd never heard before on the Fortes. And let me tell you, a lot of times what I'm hearing in my home on the Forte 4s sounds better than anything I heard in that showroom that day or that night or at that audio show, whatever. I can't, no offense if you're one of my friends that builds speakers, and no offense if you think that KLIPSCH are hot trash. I'm telling you, the Forte 4s are the real deal. I'm probably never going to divorce them. I'm going to keep them forever. They never fail to impress me, surprise me, delight me, all of that stuff. Let's go through the list real quick. They're made in the USA. That's great. Hope, Arkansas. Enough said. Number 2, they come in beautiful matched pairs. Mine are in walnut. The craftsmanship is superb. Yeah, it's still veneer, but it's real wood veneer. They do a great job of matching, and these things make a really nice statement in your home. Sometimes speakers sound great, but they're fugly. Anything you get from the Heritage line is gonna knock it out of the park. They have smooth, live, loud, detailed sound. If you're one of those people that goes,
"Oh man, I don't do KLIPSCH, man, because it's so harsh. Those horns hurt my little ears."
All right, you need to check yourself, all right? Because that's not the case with these particular horns. Or the KLIPSCH Heritage line in general, I don't think. They have done a very good job at KLIPSCH smoothing these details out and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Number 4, hey man, everybody loves big drivers, right? I love big drivers, 12-inch in front, 2 horns on the back, that 15-inch passive radiator. It's a speaker that feels like a speaker. You want to just pull that grill off and look at those drivers and those horns. That's what it's all about. That's what this audio game is all about. Confirming your purchase visually with your eyes, checking out all the little details, every little screw, every little grommet, every little, oh man, these things are just big.
I got big speaker love.
And number 5, amazing sensitivity. You can throw anything at these speakers, 99 dB. You got a 2-watt amp, fine. You got a 15-watt vintage amp, go for it. It doesn't matter. You can run anything with these. The bigger the speaker, the better the sensitivity. Seemed like it would take more power to drive something big, but no. It's just the opposite. I'm not an engineer. Tell me how they do it in the comments below. Now, the only down for me is the size. I'm not really compelled to move them out of the room very often. They have a permanent place in my listening room. Everything else goes around them, on top of them, between them, or whatever, because I am not going to take those out of my chain. I listen to them almost daily. All right, now we got to jump in the Wayback Machine for the Marantz 2245 receiver from the 70s. Now, when I was in college in the 70s, I had a 2215B, and I stopped chasing that amp. So I turned my sights a few years ago on the 2270 and the 2245 because I read that those 2 receivers are 2 of the most coveted Marantz receivers from a quality and power standpoint. And my local vintage dealer here living in Stereo in Austin, Texas, had a nice deal for me on a 2245 in the original wooden case. They had swapped out the bulbs with LEDs, had run through it. I don't think they recapped it, but this thing is in beautiful shape. It's high above my head right now. It's not currently plugged into any system. There's too much gear around here right now to give that one any time, but it still lights up beautiful here in my bar, and even when I'm not using it, I'll power it up so my friends and neighbors here can enjoy those beautiful blue lights. What did I like about it? Well, I stole it for around $500. That's an amazing deal. Now they go for 6, 7. Sky's the limit on a really super clean one. Number 2, I had the lamps replaced, so it looks bright and it looks beautiful. Number 3, it has that 70s weight and that 70s power. I just can't explain it. There's something about the Marantz. For those of us that couldn't afford Macintosh back in the day, this was our Macintosh. Just lifting it and moving it from room to room, you know there's something special going on inside. That 70s weight, that 70s power, it never disappoints. Beautiful looks. Did I mention that already? I feel like that was all part of like number 2. Those blue lights, the printing on the glass, the knob feel, everything about a Marantz looks good, feels good, and sounds good. Oh, if they only made components like this today.
Oh man, take all my money.
Number 5, I love the nostalgia. I remember that day, my sophomore year in college, where my dad went with me to the hi-fi store to buy me a little system, and we landed on the 2215B just on sheer looks and of course affordability, but it really brings back some memories to me, and it doesn't have to be the exact same model to get that vibe, that feel. When those blue lights slap you in the face, you know you're back in Marantz land. Now, the only downside is, like with a fine watch, you're gonna have to do some maintenance on these things here and there. They're not gonna last forever. Things break down, things get a little rusty, knobs get a little dirty. Find a reputable dealer you can trust. Find the unit that you want and just make sure that someone's gone over it and that it's going to be reliable so that you can enjoy it. All right, those are the 5 components that I own that I don't think you or anyone else can argue with. If you have a favorite component that you don't think anyone can argue with, put it in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and right now, I want you to know that the geniuses over there at YouTube headquarters, wherever that might be, have run the numbers and they have picked your next favorite video. That's right, it's more of me. And it's right here. All you have to do is click on it. Right now, you just click on it. Use your finger, your mouse, whatever, your clicking stick, it's right here.